Look at me, I'm wearing a bunny shirt. How do you feel about that? Well, if you're a psychopath, you're going to start immediately sizing me up and thinking like, what can I get out of this guy? Let me see if I can push this guy around. So this is going to be a practical discussion on criminals, antisocial personality disorders, psychopaths, whatever you want to call them, from a practical point of view. And being practical, I want to focus in on the fact that there's like some people out there that'll try and huck you some videos and stuff like that and say things like, oh, there's a difference between a sociopath and a psychopath and an antisocial, and that's all pretty silly. If the dragon that's about to take its claws and kill you, if they were called a psychopath or a sociopath, or if they were made or created or born that way, does it really matter? You're in a lot of trouble unless you know what to do. And we're going to talk about that. The Diagnostic and Statistical Manual for Psychotherapy Disorders or Psychiatric Disorders, as defined by the Psychiatric Association of America, doesn't really make much of a distinction. They say that the pattern of this personality has been referred to as psychopathy, sociopathy, dissocial personality disorder. They call it antisocial. I call it all the same thing. Doesn't matter to me. Be careful about people that want to sell you on all that stuff. Now, from a practical point of view, I got out of school right out of the, hot out of the university. I wanted to go out there and I wanted to help people and change lives. And I wanted to show them that I really cared. And most of the time that was true. But my first unit in the hospital that I got my first job in was loaded with psychopaths. The prison time amongst these people was huge. And the 70% of the load of people with like alcoholism, substance use disorder, people that are in prisons, that kind of thing. Let me see. Substance abuse clinics, prisons, forensic settings, that kind of thing. They're antisocials. And I do believe that it is born, that you're born that way. Either way, you're hardwired. The technical diagnosis it requires that there's been some sort of problematic stuff in childhood. And so some people will say, well, hey, if you were raised in a certain kind of gang environment, stuff like that, it would just take natural conditioning and you'd become a psychopath even if you weren't born one. But it doesn't really matter. I can't say that enough. Anyway, in the general population, we're looking, depending on who you believe, between 0.6 and 3.6% of the population is out there and they're criminals, and there's no way around it. And if you're going to be like a bright-eyed and naive clinician like I was, you want to go out there and you want to help until you discover what you're dealing with, and it is tough. If you show empathy to a criminal, they will use it against you, and you will be chewed up and spit out in no time. And the way to help them is to give them threats and speak plainly and kind of just throw the truth in their face, and let them know there's consequences for what they do. And if they want to get what they want to get, and believe me, they want what they can get, and they want to know what they can get from you. If you're hard, incorruptible, straight shooting, and let them know what's going to happen if they don't do exactly what you say, then they're going to take advantage of it, and they're going to ruin their own lives. They're going to ruin your life, and it's no good for anybody. So you've got to kind of like grow a thick skin and learn how to deal with a psychopath, and it's a lot different than dealing with your average patient. So what's a psychopath like? Well, we're talking about a pervasive pattern of antisocial behaviors. That means like violating the rights of others, crimes and that kind of thing, hurting people, hurting animals, starting from about age 15 onward. And they fail to conform to social norms, to lawful behaviors, and they do things that get them arrested. They're deceitful, they're liars, they use fake names, they con other people for profit and pleasure. I remember there's this one guy who would just get upset at someone. He broke into their house and he wanted to rape his wife and stuff like that, and the husband got involved, and he was so angry with the husband because he was resisting and getting in the way of things. They can be really impulsive and fail to plan ahead. And it's really funny because oh man, this was going to be the perfect crime. And they get all excited and animated about this, and they start telling you about the crime that they were going to do. And then they're like, hey, would you do that? And it's like, I value my freedom. Something could go wrong, and I have a conscience. They don't have a conscience. They don't have a sense of right and wrong, what Freud called the super ego. They don't know right from wrong. What they know is, you got something. Are you something that I want? Do you have something I want? Or if you don't, then you move on. They can be irritable and aggressive. They can be irresponsible. They're not very good at keeping a job or honor their financial obligations, and they lack remorse. I was talking about this earlier. They do something wrong, they're more likely to blame you if something goes wrong with their plans to take over whatever it is they want to take over from you. And they rationalize if they steal from somebody, mistreat other people, and they're kind of like the classic abuser. I abuse you because you deserved it. What's interesting is that they'll do things like maybe try and steal somebody and kill them. And they'll talk about that, okay, so if you got them dead to rights, then they're like, yeah, I did that and stuff like that. But they'll cover up weird little things, like their weird sexual stuff, or like say they lifted a couple bucks off of somebody who they killed. They're much more reluctant to reveal that because it shows weakness. And if you hang out with a bunch of psychopaths, then you will quickly learn a new lexicon, like words like get over. Oh, he's trying to get over on me, or kindness is weakness, that kind of thing. It takes some getting used to. And so we're talking about 3 to 6.6% to about 3.6 of the general population. And, it's true that a lot of them come from childhood neglect, abuse, alcoholic homes, and that kind of stuff. And so people are quick to empathize with that. And again, that empathy is going to be turned right against you. And it doesn't matter whether they were born that way or if they were just in the wrong place at the wrong time when they were born. They're psychopaths. And, if the first degree relatives tend to have tend to be criminal and psychopath too. So there does look like there's a genetic element to it, and it's also 3 times more common in men than women. And let's talk about what it's like to meet a psychopath. So one thing that is really interesting is whenever I was on this unit with full of criminals, basically. If some of them can be really charming, and they come in there, and I'm just like, oh, glad to meet you, and I have no idea they're a psychopath yet, but I'm smart enough now, I'm seasoned enough now to be like, why do I like you so much? But other feelings might be something like they look right through you, like the long stare. And you can see that you get this weird feeling inside of you when you meet a psychopath, an eerie feeling. Now, a lot of therapists have, it's exhausting working with a psychopath because they're always trying to get over on you. For example, let's say I have a bunch of pins. I always have a bunch of pins, right? I got this. Look at this. I got a Harry Potter pin. Isn't that cool? It's like a little wand, stuff like that. So it's on my desk. I'm all organized, and in comes the group and the psychopath who killed somebody because he wanted cocaine and the guy wasn't sharing. So he killed him and he took it. He's like, "Can I have one of your pens?" And I said, "No, because I know that this guy's a psychopath, and so I can't show any weakness and I can't show any wavering like that. They're gonna feel around you. Like if you see like the image of my jacket on here, they're gonna test. They're gonna feel all the cracks and everything like that to see what they can get away with and what they can't get away with, because in the unit I hold a lot of keys and they have stuff that they want when they get out, and they want to know if they can get it, and right now it's a pen. And I say, "No, you can't have the pen." And he says, "Well, why not? You've got 5. And I said, "I need 5 pens." Then he got the message, right? There's this one guy who was a therapist who was a psychopath, and I'm sure he was good at executing his job, no pun intended. But he got in trouble because he decided to have like a drug party at the office, and then to get more drugs, they broke into another office and stole a bunch of stuff to sell it and then get more drugs. And so he was sent out of prison to me, and he got really upset when he kept pushing the boundaries until we set the limit and sent him back to prison. By the way, when it's really interesting. This is the kind of world you live in. If you send them back to prison because they violate the terms of their parole, like they're not being cooperative in their treatment or whatever, it's called violating them. Like, do what I say or I'm going to violate you and call your PO, your parole officer. At any rate, they're gonna try and figure out what they can get from you. And this particular guy was like, "Hey, you think I should really lose my license?" And he's got this steely look on my eyes because he's trying to see if I'm gonna vouch for him, right? And I gotta admit, in the moment, I was a little flustered, because I was kind of new to it. As a result of this kind of stuff, therapists tend to say, "Well, there's nothing you can do about it. It's just born in them, and that's the end of it." And it's kind of like a mass kind of like getting back at all the psychopaths they've ever had to deal with, because they're angry, because they're exhausting, because they're frightening. They can scare you. If they can intimidate you, they will. And another thing is fear. Like there's this one guy in our unit who was there, and he had been tying up his like girlfriend or whatever, lover or whatever, and burning her with cigarettes, and he scared his therapist a lot, and I had to put down my foot. I could still feel the adrenaline being like, "If you want to stay here, you can't talk like that." He's looking at me, and he figured it out. He knew what he was dealing with, because as they wrote to me in my farewell gift, they were tough, but you were tougher. And so I don't know if I accept that compliment, because I'm not very tough, but I know how to lay down the law if I have to. If you push me, I will push back. And so, when you meet the psychopath, they're going to try and figure out the angle. I remember this one guy who he was a sex offender, and he had been molesting, some kid and stuff like that. And it was just creepy, and I just felt creepy around this kind of thing. And I empathize with almost everybody, but there are a few psychopaths it was just hard for me to find that empathy. And quite frankly, it's dangerous to find that empathy. And so the hospital staff asked him if he thought he could work with me. He said, "Oh, me and Dr. Furrow, we get along real good," because he thought he could do whatever he wanted. And then he wound up getting kicked out, and his eyes turned red when we said we wouldn't give him more privileges, and he ran out. And this is a guy who was walking around with a walker. trying to like get money out of the government for an injury. And then, but we heard at the picnic, he won the 3-legged race. Or, if you'd be like, oh, I'm sorry, let me help you with that. He's like, oh, no. He picks up his like walker and just bounds down the stairs. It's all a show. And, so when you first meet them, they're going to try and figure out their angle. They're going to try and see and now it's one thing to do it in a hospital setting. It's another thing if you're standing on the subway tracks at 3 a.m. and that guy's eyeballing you. You better be aware of what's going on and how to respond to that, because they respond to force and threats. That's it. And so, they're always testing you. Another reaction a therapist might have is hostility and resignation, or feeling exploited, hate, charm. Again, they're charming, and they tend to mellow out over time as their hormones change and as their life experience comes along, and they start to see that life isn't this like omnipotent thing, that they're going to get old and die. Then a lot of them can mellow out and be like fine people and upstanding citizens and quite useful in society. So I don't want to sound like I'm just like hating on the psychopaths. It just comes from a sense of reality of having to deal with them, and part of the reality is that sometimes they can be cool later on, and they're very interesting people. Some of the higher functioning ones, like I've had to work with like mafia and stuff like that, and it's all straightforward and easy to work with, because they'll just lay it out there. Like, this is what it is, and you just like get to the point, and then they size it up and they'll be like, all right, and they're fine. A buddy of mine worked with a guy who was in the mafia. And what he would do is he would say, like, you know what I'd like to do? This is what it's like to be in the room with them. Be like, yeah, you know what I'd like to do? I like to like win them over, let their guard down. And then that's when I strike, right? And then my buddy said, are you saying that to me? And he goes, ugh, everybody always says that they get that. I get that all the time. And my buddy's like, I want to clarify if you're threatening right now, right? And that kind of laid down the law. So, being honest, straight talk, making good on consequences promised gets them where they go. Because at the end of the day, it's my job to help them. They get court ordered, they get sent in. I want them to do well. It's just that the route is a whole lot different than being empathetic. It's kind of like putting them in the thumb screws and say, like, if you don't do this, go back to prison. If you like prison, great. I don't care. And if you do what I say, then this is what you get. And they're like, I get this guy. I like this guy. Because it all makes sense, right? Now, let me see if I'm missing anything in here. The defensive process in a psychopath is that of omnipotent control. They're very controlling, and it's a very primitive kind of thing, and kind of like the stronger is the better, kind of like early childhood kind of stuff. Like, I am magically the best. I'm gonna get what I want. I'm really great. Don't get in my way. Because you'll see, like a 2-year-old will bully you if you let it. It'll sit there and smack you up, and it'll push you around if you let it. Same thing with the psychopath, and I don't mean that in the wrong way. That's just the reality that we're dealing with. So, I would like to do a video. If you're interested in this, let me know. Make a comment. Nobody ever comments. I feel like there's so much that people could react to or ask for, and they don't. But if you're kind of like the nerdy, geeky type, and you want to know about like the process, the psychological behind the curtains of what makes a psychopath and all the theories and stuff like that it works, let me know. I'll do that for you. But this is more about practicality, because you got to protect yourself. Let's see if there's anything else. Oh yeah, what's really interesting is that they're high sensation seeking, but they don't get excited like we would. Like let's say I went out and I went to a 7-Eleven and I heisted some beef jerky because I just felt like it, right? That's a very psychopathic kind of thing to do. Like, I want this, I'm just gonna take it. And what are you gonna do? Stop me? No, you're not gonna stop me, because I can see it in your eyes. You're not gonna stop me. And I don't care if I go to prison. They're gonna let me out. It's fine. If I did that, if Dr. Fur did that, I would have an adrenaline rush, and I'd be looking over my shoulder, and I'd be worried, and worried about the consequence. To go, oh my God, why did I do that? I could lose my license and stuff like that for breaking the law. These guys, they want the jerky, and they're gonna eat it, and it's gonna taste great. And if they scare the person behind the counter, I don't care. And they don't have that kind of arousal, that kind of animalistic response to a dangerous situation. They don't have it. They're cool as ice. They got ice in their veins, as they say. They're very straightforward, and they're not upset about it. And they can use words like rape and stuff like that, like the same way they're talking about a lounge chair. Like, there's just no reactivity to these things. It's just kind of like, yeah, this is the business. This is what I want. Don't get in my way. I'll do it. If I can, I'll get what I want. And that's it. I don't feel bad about it. It's your fault for being stupid and for not protecting yourself. And now, let's see, hungry. Maybe I'll get jerky from another place, right? Anything else? So that's basically kind of like an insight into psychopaths. And like I said, they come in a spectrum from like psychotic to like average Joes to charming to hostile and aggressive and scary, from smart to stupid. And yeah, I guess I'll leave with the stupid one. A lot of these guys came to the hospital. Remember, I worked for the government, so they wanted something. And so they were trying to come up with ways to get money, these like harebrained schemes. And one guy was just bragging about how he decided like what he was going to do is he's going to take his bike down to the highway, and he's going to like ride into traffic and hit like a commercial bus. So like, they have insurance and stuff like that. And then he'd get money. Well, he did get money, but the harebrained scheme was he went wrong when he missed the commercial bus and got hit by a private car. And luckily he got somebody with insurance. But that's a long way to go for money. He was trying to pull a quick one, and it didn't work out. But anyway, I have a ton more. If you want to hear more stories, psychopathic stories, I've got a million of them. Other than that, take care of yourself. Go to the Patreon page. I really hate to say like and subscribe, but it would be helpful. And if you go to the Patreon page, you can, support for $1 a month, and you get some I created some cool songs about relationships and conflict resolution. I did it in 3 languages and 3 different styles. It's pretty cool. So if you get on the $1 a month, you can hear the alternative ones. The regular ones are on the channel. If you get to $20 a month, then you, as a budding therapist or an amateur armchair psychologist, can have access to things on how to deal with people, sort of like this a little bit, but more from like an average everyday point of view for things like obsessiveness, paranoia, borderline, and narcissists, and behind the scenes things of what it's like to be a therapist and how to make money and that kind of thing. not better content, different content that you can't get from just being for free. And for $50, you get, oh, by the way, I should mention, you get these t-shirts. Like, this is a woman's, it's pink, and it's like kind of a half thing, but it has the Zen bunny on there. And you can go to the channel and see why I came up with this bunny thing. It's very multi-layered. It's very interesting. You get t-shirts and stickers, and then for $50, you get the t-shirts and stickers, and you have the right to ask me personal questions through email or video. If you're going to do video, it might go up in price, but you can have a private audience, and I would take time for a limited number of people to have that audience and be the Oracle of Delphi to help you know thyself. And having said that, this has been the Bunny Therapy, and I wish you good mental health, better behavior, and more flexible beliefs, and a better life.